Thanks again, Jeff, for hopping on to an episode of Untapped Stories, man. I'm super excited to talk to you. I know we were chatting a little bit before show. We've gone back and forth via email. And when my team sent me your page online, I was just super excited to reach out because we've had a lot of conversations over the last couple of months through Untapped Stories, and we get a lot of feedback on the mental side of the game from young athletes. So talking to an MPC coach will just be really good for, I think, young athletes and parents to hear. But for all these combos, I love starting all the way back in the guest journey. So just to paint a picture for the audience of who you are, where you came from. If maybe you could explain for people what sports meant to you growing up, if you were a multi-sport athlete, one sport athlete, and kind of how those early days shaped who you became, ultimately as a coach. That'd be awesome.
Wow, great question. And I don't get asked that a lot. How has it shaped me? I grew up on the west side of Chicago. And so obviously everyone that's on the west side of Chicago, that it's basketball or nothing. And so I became a basketball player. My mom was a three-sport Division I athlete. She's in the Hall of Fame at Illinois State for athletics, for basketball, volleyball, softball. I think from a very early age that the love for sports came from my mom. Obviously, growing up in the 90s in Chicago was a great time, a great era. But, also it's very interesting to look back on is how much my mom shaped me in a great way, but also from which we'll probably dive into, just becoming a people pleaser and wanting to make sure that so many athletes are playing for the perception of the approval of their parents. And looking back, I didn't realize it, but now where I am, you see it so much. Looking over their shoulder from the sidelines, the parents, yelling yelling directions or instructions from the sidelines, and that was my mother. She shaped me, and it was a great thing. But also at the same time, looking back, there were some things that I wish I would have done differently. But that shaped me into playing at a very successful Division III basketball program, Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois. Won 3 straight conference championships, the Sweet 16. Had a very successful program there. Went to Northern Illinois. It's very interesting going from a high-level Division III, going 22-8 every season, to going to Northern Illinois. No disrespect, we went 9-21 that season, and seeing that transition. Realizing what the Division I coaching life was like. Then went into the high school program for a little bit. Then I'm out here now in Phoenix for the last 13, 14 years. I started a few club basketball programs that became very successful, roughly 100 players in the college level. I went on the Under Armour circuit, and after about 7 years of that and having roughly 70 teams around the country, very successful program. I was the lead skills coach or lead skills trainer and instructor for the Chris Paul CP3 camps for about 12, 13 years as well. But through all that and through all the life lessons and through everything that I've seen, it kind of spearheaded to this point for me to transition to mental performance coaching. I thought that always, God or the universe was pointing me to be a trainer and a coach and be on the court. And I think it was all the connections, the life lessons that I learned through those years that took me to become this mental performance coach and be able to relate and instruct and use, I always say, is using that ball or that sport as a tool for life.
That's the best way to put it. I think even our top coaches, if they're not MPC, if they don't have that that experience, that degree, whatever you want to call it, a lot of them filter that in through their sessions. I think you have to in today's day and age with the way that young athletes are being shaped. It's not just like, I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s playing basketball too, and a lot of it was tougher love back then, skills, focus, weight training, which is all good stuff. But we hear all the top athletes now say you have to have all three things: skills, body, and mind. And a lot of people forget about the mind, especially as a young athlete. So I think the fact that you're doing that work, putting it in with the kids and making sure that they know that that's a valuable piece to being a good player and a good person too. I love it, man. But what about mental performance coaching nowadays? Because I've asked this a couple times, but I love the different answers. When you're talking to clients or maybe kids in the 8 to or elementary to high school range, anywhere in there, what's one of the biggest myths that you hear about nowadays with mental performance coaching, or even problems that people come to you with and that you have to debunk? Is it a lack of confidence? Is it fear of failure? And how do you help them overcome that when they face those problems?
Yeah, I think the two biggest things that I always hear, and it's not just elementary school. I mean, heck, I've been on the last few days PGA golfer and NBA player and Olympian. I mean, it's the two biggest things I always hear. This is maybe different for others. Is confidence and perception of others. fear of others' opinions. Those are the two biggest things I always hear. How do we debunk it? We can get deep in the weeds with that, but the easiest way I always say, guys, is it's almost like I always view everything as like an onion, and the analogy of an onion. We're very surface level individuals. They ask how's your day going? Good. How was your game? Fine. Are you getting better? Yes. Are you working hard? Of course. But like, we're very surface level individuals. And so I think for any athlete or any individual that I work with is how do we unpack them? Because I can tell you all the right answers, or a teacher can give you all the right answers to homework. But unless we can peel back these onion layers for Gene to understand himself at the core, so when the storm hits, now you know how to unpack it yourself. Now you know how to handle challenges, adversity, struggle yourself. Because otherwise, if we're looking over our shoulder or looking for a coach or a teammate or a parent to give us the answers, now that's why stress, anxiety, fears, insecurities, doubts happen because we don't know how to handle the emotions. And so one of my favorite quotes is either you're in control of your emotions or your emotions controlling you. But to understand how to control your emotions, we got to unpack you at a very deep level. So I didn't really answer the question, but we can unpack it.
No, I'm sure that, like you said, there's a million different layers to that once you really dive into it. But I like the perception of others, though. I haven't heard that as much. Confidence, of course, personally feeling that you're going to fail. But the perception of others makes a lot of sense because I guess especially in that demographic, whether it's, well, like you said, MBAs or MBA level guys, Olympians too, they might fear the perception of the media and critics. And if it's in high school, it's your friends and, like people in your school. So everybody at some level has that. I guess maybe to go in for a bit about that one, because the confidence thing, I know we could talk about, I'm sure we will, but the perception of others, like what's usually the root of that? Is it not feeling like you're adequate and that your skills aren't adequate to play? Is it letting people down? Is it worrying about, negative comments after a bad game? Like what are usually the pitfalls of that when people come to you?
Great question, and all of the above. But let's be honest, is because when we grew up, we didn't have social media. We had a few buddies, we had our classmates in the hallways that were going to perceive us. But now we go into social media in the world, and literally, I heard this years ago, it's really stuck with me, is we've been trained, us included, not just, teenagers, but us included, we've been trained to immediately judge and perceive immediately. When I scroll, do you stop? Do you like? Do you comment? Do you double tap? Do you share? And so we've been trained immediately to judge and critique. And now you're a 13 to 14 to 17-year-old individual, and they don't know any better. And so it's a social status thing for them, right? I always say this, unfortunately, they live in a cesspool of social status. So I don't blame them, right? They don't know any better. And again, parents, we're doing the same thing. We don't have the proper tools or boundaries or structure or systems to try to help alleviate it. So if they have been brought up this way, now we have years and potentially decades of subconscious thoughts and patterns built into us that's super hard to break. I like to look at, we can build in confidence in the same way. I look at confidence as like a sliding scale. When one side's heavy, one side's light. When we place our weight and our value, our self-identity, or confidence on one side, the other side's light. And there's only two sides, external and internal. So if we're constantly placing it on how many points did I score? What do they think of me? What's the student section going to say? What are they going to say in the hallways? Oh, they're so much better than me. They look better than me. They're ranked higher than me. I saw their highlights on social media. They're so much better. If we're always placing on the external side, we're never really placing it onto what elite athletes need to focus on. And so we need to start to shift that scale little by little, conversation by conversation, peeling back these onion layers to little by little by little. And again, I'm 38 and it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But to shift this scale from not worrying as much about them, or I'm sorry, let's not even focus on external, let's focus on the internal. I like to say it's self followed by words. Self-love, self-belief, self-trust, self-talk, trusting my work, the controllables, the discipline, the consistency. And when you can start to really focus, this is my identity and not this, now we're starting to fully feel like I'm authentically myself, I'm giving it my all, and I get that, hey, there might be other competitors, but I'm doing the best I can with what I got, if that makes sense.
I love that. I've seen it so much too with kids, and I do less training than I did a couple years ago after starting Athletes Untapped, but it is truly a different world with the kids that are coming up now. And I think I've seen it with the pro athletes too, like the younger pro athletes now, quarterbacks, NBA guys, they're so social media savvy, but you can just tell they move and operate differently. And I guess maybe if you get trained in it and you know how to handle it, it's a positive because it's not going anywhere, right? Like Instagram, Facebook, like they're not, those platforms are never going to cease to exist. It's teaching kids how to understand what to do with them, when to block them out. I guess maybe as a quick follow up, do you just recommend that all kids get off social media, like if they're in season or at all times, or what would your take be on social media as a mental performance coach?
There's different systems, different structures that I implement with my athletes from phone usage. But I always call it the E to E ratio and the D to D ratio. Is it education or entertainment? Is it discipline or distraction? So realistically, like we go through different steps that I have, but some of them being, set limits on your phone or set limits on your social media apps. Take off all notifications off your lock screen as much as possible. Things like unfollow individuals. Oh, well, they're my middle school friend that was in my science class, and I haven't talked to them in 7 years. I'm like, well, why are you following them? Is it and so we really try to dive into like one of the things I would be like is, hey, Gene, let's pull up your social media. Why are you following 1,000 individuals? Okay, by next week we're going to cut that down to 700, and then 700 we cut that down to 650, and 650 we're going to turn down to 400. Because realistically, like I always give the analogy of like Kevin Hart is cool, he's funny, but that's entertainment. Is it really? Do I really need to follow Kevin Hart? Or is it just because it's cool to see? But again, so it's not possible to probably get someone to fully cut off social media. In my hundreds of athletes I work with, maybe one or two have during the season, realistically. But it's again creating the right systems, the right boundaries for them to take back control over their time and their focus, not let distractions and notifications control their time and focus.
And that's a powerful message again in today's day and age because it's only going to get bigger and bigger. So kids have to know what to do with it. I know it's kind of like a one-hitter question, but I like asking it. If you had 60 seconds to sit down with every young athlete in the world, what's like the biggest piece of advice you'd give them for how to handle themselves, athletically and as they mature, in their athletic process? And it's a tough answer. I know you could say a million things, but what's like the most important message you would get out there to young athletes?
I just gave this message to a top 5 high school team in the country, and a high-level Division I commit texted me after. She's like, I'm freaking out. I'm so nervous. Playoffs are coming up. There's so much pressure. I'm a senior. I don't want to lose. I just said, okay, I'll just do the same thing for you, Gene. Gene, give me three words, and only 3 words that describe you at your absolute best. It could be calm, swagger, poised, confident, leader, vocal, positive, poised, neutral, next play. Give me the top 3 words that embody you at your absolute best.
Probably resilient, tough, and I'll go confident. At my absolute best. Have to be.
Resilient, tough, confident. Okay, think of a time where you did not play well. And I would, you don't have to do this since we're retired now.
Too many games, man. Yeah.
Think of a time where you didn't play well. Grade yourself A to F on each one of those 3. And they would say, C, ooh, that one's a D. Ooh, that one's a D minus. Okay, think of a time where you played really well. Same thing, grade yourself. Okay, B plus, A minus, and A. Okay, so it's not the result that matters. It's your ability to control and be consistent and intentional to those 3 words. Because those 3 words, it's A plus B plus C equals D. We're so focused on D, aka results, social status, right? What we just talked about. But if you control those 3 words really, really, really well, it takes care of the rest. It gives you the best percentage chance to get the result you want. That's it. That's all I would say, is say control what you can control, and challenge, adversity, struggle is going to happen. And when it does, we don't default to emotions. We default to your 3 words, your standards. Stick to the standards. Don't stick to the emotions.
I like that. So for those, and for athletes who do that, I know that would help a big time. Say if they tried that, they fail, the goal would be just to go to the next game, next practice, right back to ABC, and know that if you trust in that process, eventually you will get to D. It's not going to be every single game. Like, you're going to have ups and downs, but you won't feel so, on a roller coaster because you have a process, which is meeting yourself at A, B, and C.
Yeah, it's the structure and the system. And so it's not the structure and the system that didn't work. It's that we gave into the noise and the distraction.
Yep.
Right? And so I always, and so if someone says, hey, it didn't work, I understand, because we haven't built, I'm giving you level 4 of the pyramid. We need to start with focus and awareness, eliminating distractions and noise. controlling the self-talk better, understanding what confidence is, and then we can build into the 3 words. If we don't have the infrastructure in place, of course the pyramid's going to fall.
Yep.
And so we would dive into, hey, why did we give into that noise and distraction? Why did we worry too much about results and outcomes? Okay, you started 0 for 3 today, but then you got negative. And then you started, looking inward, right? So all this stuff builds on itself. But if I gave you 60 seconds, I'd start with the 3 words. Sure.
I like that. That's really, really good. What about, and it sounds like you've worked with a lot of really impressive athletes, whether it's high level, mid level, super young kids. What's one really cool breakthrough story you can share that might help parents and young athletes understand, really the value and the importance of mental performance coaching?
The breakthrough for me, I've never been asked this, and so the first answer I think of is the breakthrough is for the athlete to sit on that first call and have the vulnerability to understand it's not about working harder anymore. Like every athlete that I work with, and we do like a player a mindset assessment, 1 to 10, where are you at? And there's confidence and self-talk, but 1 is work ethic. Almost all of the athletes that come to us, they already work really hard. Like they already are not 8s or 9s or 10s and the consistency of work ethic, whether they're an 8-year-old or 12-year-old or a pro. But what most athletes do is they think that they have to continue to work harder. Eventually, working harder is not the answer.
Yeah.
It might be when you're in elementary school. It might be when you're a lower level freshman or JV player. But when you're a varsity player, everyone's putting in the work. Everyone's lifting weights, right? 99% of what you do will be the same as your competition. But it's the 1% that makes 100% of the difference. 99% of what you do will be the same as your competition. It's the 1% that makes 100% of the difference. What's the 1%? And if everyone's doing the same 99%, we're not going to do it. So it's the vulnerability of each athlete to say, look, I know I'm already doing this, but I want to understand what is that 1%. So I don't care if you're an 8-year-old. I don't care if you're a 12-year-old. We have chess players, rock climbers, basketball, golf, pros, Olympians. It doesn't matter to me. But if you're going to sit in that chair and be vulnerable enough, I'm going to rock and roll with you.
I love that. And I guess what is maybe just helping athletes and parents who are on that journey, they don't know to come to, you or an NPC coach. Like, what's that process generally look like? Like they're getting up to, just to help people understand, where your expertise and the value of NPCs come in. Is it like as they're going up to a different level usually and they're not sure about their confidence? Is it trying to get recruited into college and they want to make sure they get there and they have the right mentors for it? Like, I'm sure there's a million reasons, but what do you typically see people come to you for?
Right.
At what stages?
That's a great question. I think that the biggest ones is, I would say, ones that want to get recruited. Of course, let's go lower to higher. Lower is we're really struggling. We need help. We don't know where to go. They're consistently negative, bad body language. They miss they have a few mistakes. I don't want to say just basketball. They have a few mistakes and they just immediately shut down. They flatline for the rest of the game. So that's number 1. Number 2, I would say, is the proactive parent that's like, hey, I know this is important. I see the importance of life skills through sports. They will become better leaders, fight through adversity, emotional regulation, all of this stuff. Again, the ball will stop bouncing one day. It's what they learned through the sport. Step 3, I would say, are the more older levels. Yeah, they want to get recruited, right? They want that 1%. They want to find that next thing, the edge per se. And then the highest level is, I want to get that second contract. I just don't want this. The guys behind me, I just don't want the signing bonus. I want that $10 to $15 million second contract, and I know that everyone, again, is doing the 99%.
Yeah.
I need to figure out what that 1% for me.
Interesting. And it seems like I just don't know why a lot of people forget. Maybe it's newer school. Maybe my generation, I'm 32. Maybe it's people in my age bracket, as they get older, they'll know that NPC is such a valuable part of training. But it seems like, I would agree, the 1% is probably, I've seen it be mental. It's also the nutrition piece, and it's a whole different conversation. A lot of athletes forget about that side of things because the weightlifting and the skills everyone knows to do. Nutrition and the mental side of the game, a lot of athletes just kind of let sit by the side. So I wish more people would know that is the extra little bit you can do. And like you said, it's not always working harder. It's just a classic line, but it's working smarter. And this is the way to do that, to actually give yourself the tools to succeed mentally.
I give this analogy of let's go back to us being 17 years old, 16 years old, and I really needed it, 15 years old. Like the amount, let's say every day that you did skills work was a drop, okay? And the amount in your career of a 16-year-old drop, you probably would already have built a lake.
Yeah.
So one more drop of like working harder, that drop doesn't affect the lake much. But if you just put in 15 minutes of mental performance work, you might have a little puddle. And most people don't even have a puddle, right? But if you listen to podcasts or if you hop on a quick weekly call with us, you do some journaling, you just start watching YouTube videos, whatever it is, Chat GPT now, whatever. That little pond, that little puddle, that one drop affects it so much more than putting in an extra 100 jump shots.
Yeah.
Right? So I kind of give this analogy of like you've already done the work physically, but we haven't built up that lake yet, that reservoir mentally.
And honestly, this has been such good feedback, man. I got one sort of tailored question, not really to me, not giving myself a pat on the back, but for some teammates that I can remember when I was younger. Because I think a lot of players go through this, and you've probably seen it in hoops, but they're killer in practice. Every workout, they dominate. Games come, and they're just like a totally different person. When you see athletes like that, and I can remember one guy in particular, so damn talented, would have been like probably mid to high level D1, just couldn't put it together when it came to it. How do you help guys like that or girls like that overcome that situation where they have their raw talent, they prove they can do it when the lights aren't on, but when the lights turn on, they're either they go into their turtle shell or they can't bring it.
Two things. I always say everything always comes down to two things: focus and self-talk. Everything, always, even me. Let's go back to practice. Their focus is let's get better, let's be intentional, let's be a leader, let's hold people accountable, let's dive in. Their self-talk, that dialogue, the narrative is push others, we're good, I'm the best player on the court, give me the ball. But I guarantee when we shift to game to performance, the focus is different. We're focusing on who's in the stands, the results, the outcomes. Am I going to hit my average? What is, if I miss, will coach sub me out? And then the narrative turns into, don't mess up. I'm not good enough. Why am I messing up? I'm letting the team down. I always say, like, if an alien came down from space, it's the same exact thing. You, in basketball, you try to put orange ball in orange cylinder. Nothing changes. The only thing that has changed is what are you focusing on and the narrative, the dialogue in between your ears. And so if we can start to understand this, what I would do is just like, okay, it's the same exact thing. We just got to understand how to control your focus better and to control the narrative and the dialogue better.
I like that. It's funny you mention that. I've seen a lot of the guys that I'm thinking about, they do have pretty negative self-talk. I'm just playing back my college and pro years. But yeah, when you get to that level, everyone's got the same level of talent. It's just who can put it on the court together and actually perform when the lights come up. And it's easier said than done, man. If you're not trained in it, and if you didn't have it naturally as a kid, you can learn it, but it takes work. So
I'm a big advocate of therapy. My therapist always says, it's easy when it's easy. Who are you when it's not? It's easy when it's easy. Who are you when it's not? Of course it's easy when you're 5 for 5 to start the game. Of course it's easy when you guys are on the 10-0 run. Who are you when it's not easy? And that's what high elite performers can do is turn inward and understand how to be curious, not critical, but curious when it's not easy.
I like that. And as a shooter, just keep shooting. Remember one time in college, I went 0 for 2 in the same possession, got the ball a third time, popped it back in. My coach almost had a heart attack on the sidelines that I shot it 3 times, but I was like, hey, third one's going in. It's 33%. Just got to let it fly. What about,
I had a pick and pop guy, 6'8", 4-man, pick and pop. And what we do, sometimes I have my athletes write a word or letters or acronyms on their wrist, just so that it's a small little mental reset during games. And he would just write LIF, let it fly.
I like that. I did that mentally. I should have done it on my wrist though. I think one big thing, like you said, overtraining, not that every athlete overtrains, but they all have the training piece down. But like burnout can be a real thing nowadays for athletes. I think, and I've just seen it, like every time you hop on social media, your peers are working out or somebody's putting up a good highlight tape. So you want to be there in the gym grinding with them. It's not always like the best thing to just like go all out all the time. You got to take a step back, kind of self-reflect. But how do you help athletes do that when they come to you and they think that it's a work ethic problem? How do you help people push for balance and just understand like how to take care of themselves throughout the process? I think it's a big thing. You just kind of get lost in playing, lost in recruiting, lost in chasing goals. But how do you help themselves, or how do you help them, strike a balance?
It's a great question, and it's a very hard question because I remember being 15 to 18 years old. My coach telling me to stop doing 6 a.m. workouts and this and that. But as you said, is Everyone's focusing on social media, looking over their shoulder, the comparison, those types of things. What we would do typically is we would implement the right systems and structure. Again, what does your daily process need to be? You know, is that we just need to make 200 shots after, make 200 shots after every practice. But if we find the right system for you specifically, we just follow the next breadcrumb and do that, right? That might be, wake up at 6 a.m. We're going to eat every 3 hours. We're going to time block out our day. We're just going to follow the next breadcrumb. And, bedtime by 10 p.m., no phone by 9:30 p.m. But if we just do the right process and win the right day, then we can just be much more present in the moment to do what we need to do.
I like that.
And then we're not focused on everything else. But again, it doesn't matter if you're a 12-year-old or if you're a 24-year-old. Our job is to implement the right systems and structure, so we're not always trying to focus on willpower and motivation and just, mental toughness all the time. That's not going to work. That's going to fizzle away.
Sometimes, man, I hear parents, and I'm a parent too, I hear parents talking about how the next generation, they're scared for them, AI, social media. But to give you a shout out, I think if there's more people like you spreading positive messaging about what it's like to be an athlete, how to take care of yourself, I think the next generation is going to be just fine, if not better than us, because we kind of came up in that time where no one really knew about this stuff, but social media and everything became a thing, so we learned and crash course on the fly. But I think if kids can get this message down, use those tools for good, but not get so drowned by them. And again, like you said, have the right, just mental structure to crush the day and not be so worried and stay up on their phone until 1 or 2. There's just so many little things kids can do, man. But again, they have to have somebody like you in their corner. So shout out to you for doing it and taking the plunge and going from hoops coach to NPC. I know it's not easy, but it sounds like you're crushing it. So congrats on all the success.
I appreciate it, man. It's an absolute blessing. And again, we're just trying to be disciples. We're trying to be servants, leaders, and we're just trying to make an impact. That's all we're trying to do. So just show up and keep trying to make an impact.
Amen, brother. Well, again, Jeff, this has been so much fun. I can't wait to release this for anyone listening. Again, go follow Jeff on social. He's got awesome stuff, awesome content that he pushes out. This is truly so much fun. So appreciate your time, man, on a busy Friday.
I'm always ready for you again, brother. Anytime you need me, I'm ready.
Nice, man.